right. So what's going on?
Just hanging out. My posture is askew because I have my leg up on a chair because my ankle's jacked up. So
What'd you do to your ankle?
it's arthritis condition.
Okay.
It's painful.
Mm-hmm.
So and frustrating. So I got that. And I do have I'm gonna try to pull out all the buzzwords we can. I do have a hard stop at the another attack dog. Oh my gosh, what is it? What's the big dog out there? Oh yeah. Big dog. Oh, watch out.
Oh, I'm so isolated now.
Oh, she's freaking out. There's a dog that walked through the yard. All right, watch out, here she comes. Yeah. Sadie. No. She's when no one is home to keep her in line. She's Sadie, you're a menace. It's okay.
Oh, come on.
They're not going to attack. Settle. No. Settle down. So there's that. I have a hard stop at the top of the hour. I'm experimenting. I don't know how we're going to record this. Hey, it's okay. Hey.
I'll be honest with you, though. I need to write this down because your dog just gave me my segue.
Okay. Hey, it's okay. Hey. It's okay. Hey. Alright, I'm gonna put her in the other room. This isn't gonna work. You wanna go get it? Okay, you're out. Come on. Let's go. Even that may not work. She's gonna be bent for a minute here. So you remember what did they call it back in the day that Demystified had this program where was it called Analysis Exchange?
Is that with the mentor mentee?
Yeah.
Yes, Analysis Exchange.
So I stumbled across this program. It's different. It's not like a mentor thing, but it's a similar thing where it's based on nonprofits and kind of for good companies that Patagonia is running, where they're bringing together experts in certain fields and nonprofit companies that are looking for help. So it could be design, it could be website development, it could be email marketing campaigns, and these companies put up kind of a pitch on this Patagonia site where they talk about, hey, here's what we're doing, here's why it's important to us, here's what we're looking to do. Are you an expert in this space that would be willing to partner with us to help us solve this problem? So anyway, I found one that is looking to do a fairly basic Google Analytics setup on their site, and they're looking for someone to partner with. So I'm going to talk with them here in an hour.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, one, just to kind of see how this whole system works through Patagonia. And two, if it may be like a cool way in which we can kind of volunteer our time and give back. Because, that's something that we're kind of all uniquely passionate about. And we have a lot of obvious value that we can add in the space. So anyway, it was just a cool little thing that I came across.
Nice. Let me know how that goes. I'm curious.
Yeah, definitely. We'll let you know how that goes. And I think that's what I got going on now. What about you?
Just kind of like in a lull with things right now. So I'm trying to do a lot of planning. The year is flying by. So saw like one of my best friends over the weekend, and like I've seen him only a couple times this year just with everything going on. And I was like, honestly, from the end of March up until about 2 weeks ago, everything is a blur. Like absolute total blur. It just went by really, really fast. So trying to use the time right now to plan and organize what I'd like to see us do over the next 5 months as we get close to closing out the year. And when I get to toward the end of a year, I try to look toward like how can we start off strong the beginning of the year.
Hmm.
So that's where I'm kind of at the moment, taking a step back and trying to plan and organize.
It's a good thing to do. Um, it's the sharpening the saw, right? It's
Mhm.
the Yeah, and I've been thinking about that a lot as well. I tweeted about something similar. Oh my god,
Oh,
she's
Sadie,
so
you're
tough.
giving me my perfect intro for today's
Uh,
topic.
um, it's something that you gotta stop, girl.
Hey, it's what makes this conversation real, right?
I guess. It's something that I don't know where we've gotten this belief from, but we have this mentality, at least I do, that if we aren't actively involved in creating something tangible, that we're not creating value and we're not doing work. And I
Hmm.
think that goes to speak to the sharpening the saw thing. It's like, well, no, I got to be cutting down the tree. I got to be doing the work. It's like, well, sharpening the saw is part of doing the work. Taking a step back and thinking and organizing and planning is part of doing the work.
Hmm.
Yet we've got this belief that it's not, and we see it in, and I this is a completely way too early tangent, but we see this in so many companies when it comes to taking the time to do proper design and documentation. It's like, oh no, we don't have time for that. We just got to get the code into our tag manager and collecting data. I'm like, but that is the work. Thinking about the right way to do it, documenting it, making sure we're building this in a sustainable way is the work. That is part of doing the work. So what do you mean we don't have time to do the work? And so, I don't know. We I think we need to get over that because it's been proven far too many times that sharpening the saw makes the work so much better.
Hmm.
you know, we can sit there and hack at the tree with a dull axe all we want, but you know, unfortunately, it's what gets rewarded, though, right?
Yeah.
Um, we may have talked about this on a previous podcast, but I remember this conversation from in my very first job out of college, um, when I was talking with a manager about why I wasn't getting promoted or raises as much as the other people on the team. He said, "Well, it doesn't look like you're working." I'm like, "What does that mean?" It's like, "Well, take John over there. Like he's always like running around. He's here late. It's like he's got a lot going on. He's really hustling hard." I'm like, "So it looks like he's working hard." I'm like, "Yeah, but he's not creating anything. He's not actually producing anything." I know, but it looks like he is. I'm like, I can't do this. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm gonna mute now to mute out the dog.
Yeah. I was talking with somebody else internally today, and we were just reviewing some stuff that's a presentation being put together for a client, and it's on all how you present it. And one of the things we were talking about is he was completely right with what he had listed out, but I was like, but what's ultimately the value for the client? So we do this, so we check this item off the list. What does it actually mean? Are we saying we just need to do this to do this? Or are we saying it's important to focus on this because, and
Hmm.
trying to give that perspective?
I think you're even setting up another transition to the topic because I think that pivots as well to what we're talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, actually both of them, both that and
And
Sadie
the
going
dog,
nuts.
yeah.
Um, so what I was thinking with the transitions, let's go ahead and let's just jump right into the topic. So I want to continue our conversation around online slash digital privacy. Um, and obviously, like we've mentioned it the last couple weeks, it's been part of our intro. This has become a major conversation. Everybody's talking about it. All of the major um, platform, device, technology providers, all of them are talking about your privacy. So where I was thinking of this when Sadie went nuts earlier is, you know, she's seeing what she perceives to be a threat
Right.
and yelling and screaming and letting the entire house know about it. But, like if it were truly a threat, would she actually do anything about it or just bark
Right.
and make a lot of noise?
Right.
So where I was going with this is that the question I want to dig into today is do these companies that are putting privacy out there as part of their sales pitch, their product feature list, all about, do they really care about your privacy, or is it all just theater to make you think they do?
I don't think anyone cares about anyone else's privacy other than individuals caring about their own privacy.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so definitely a lot of it is theater. And we've learned that from a long time ago. If I turn down, I gotta hold on. I gotta mute my notifications here. Do not disturb. Okay. Um, but we learned a long time ago that companies do this because why? It it enables future profits, right?
Hmm.
If you think back to optimizing the checkout funnel, do you know what was trendy like 10 years ago to add to your checkout funnel?
What was it? Uh,
I can't remember
yeah.
the exact stickers, but there were these stickers that it's like, oh, we're trusted. We have this secure checkout.
Oh,
Um,
like the verified by Visa and the Mastercard Secure
yeah.
Pay and all those.
hmm
Yeah.
Right. And and sure, there were probably some behind the scenes things that happened. But a lot of that, those stickers and the badging, was kind of theater, right? It's like
Hmm.
it makes the consumer feel better, and I think that's the case in a lot of what we're seeing from a privacy standpoint is that, well, if we have to do this, let's use it as an opportunity to make the consumer feel better, so that they'll buy more stuff, so that they
Hmm.
won't bail on our purchase. The reality is, and we talked about this last time, dude, it is so incredibly difficult. I don't know how even the biggest companies can keep up with all of the different regulation to be compliant. So a lot of it really is just really the theater of putting up a sign saying, hey, we care about your privacy. But on the back end, we see it. I mean, we have
Hmm.
the chance to see it in a lot of different aspects. I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't. The reality is they don't, well, they do, but they don't have the investment in budget and people to actually make it happen. And again, if we just looked at GDPR, it's incredibly complicated. But you bring in now, as the United States, individual states are coming up with their own regulations. How can anyone that's not a multi-million-dollar business keep up with this regulation and have a website that's fully compliant?
Yeah. And like one of the things that spurred this question on with me has been a lot of Apple's recent marketing materials and the way they're pushing a lot of their products. Like recently at their big developer expo, they were talking about like some of the hardware advancements they've been able to make is certain requests you make on the phone stay local to the device instead of going out, leaving the device, and then the response coming back. And it made me think like, okay, that's great, but does it still really secure my privacy? And honestly, I don't know. Like this is going to be another meandering one where I think I ask more questions than provide answers. But a lot of this conversation is like food for thought. Like where where is there a level of privacy protection um versus actually caring about the person's privacy? Because I think at this point, you know when you talk about experience with a product, if you're using a product and God, like I'm trying to say like three things at once, and it is all coming out jumbled together. Um, and you don't realize, how much of that information it may be shared, it may be um used to fund the product. And God, I'm a rambling idiot at the moment. um I mean, that could be that could dampen, your feelings about it. And so let me try to really bring this back around. So we've talked a lot about recently on the show the idea of, like, for some reason we've gotten the idea that everything on the internet should be free. Content, applications, software, music, movies, all of that. We've gotten this idea that everything should be free. Um, and that has kind of fueled this need to collect a lot of information, share it, sell it, or whatever, to generate the revenue to actually create those items. Does that make sense? Or am I just an idiot today?
No, no. I mean, it's a it's a complicated topic, and um, I think it makes sense. Let's actually step back a little bit and talk about maybe the different segments, because we're saying, I think we're making some broad strokes as far as, do people really care about your
Mm-hmm.
privacy, or is it theater? I think maybe it's important to create some segments of audiences that we're talking about when it comes to this. So, um, and I'd be interested, and I'll pose my question back to you. Does your thought stay the same or change if you look at it? Oh man, she is driving me nuts. Does your thought change or stay the same if we segment the audiences? So I'm going to put her in my son's room, but before I do, I'm going to give you maybe some segments to think about, and think about if it changes how you think about where their thoughts may be on the topic. So I see a few key audiences. Number one would be just online businesses in general. So I go shopping at Target on Target.com. I think that's one audience. Another audience would be vendors. So I'm a MarTech vendor. Maybe I'm a Google Analytics or an Adobe Analytics. A third segment would be a vendor that's specifically in the privacy space. So now we've spun up vendors that handle privacy. And then the fourth, and this is probably where the biggest part of the conversation would be those companies that have the ability to impact the landscape, from whether it's an ad buy perspective, whether it's how technology works. So we're really talking about companies like Facebook, Apple, Google.
Mm-hmm.
So if you break down the conversation into those different segments, does it change kind of your view on how they think about privacy? And is it theater, or their other ulterior motives, or do companies actually do really care about your privacy?
Let's start with the last one first, because I'm going to say no. When you were talking about, like, those that could change the landscape, Google, Twitter, Facebook, Apple, I'm going to probably say no, because what are they actually trying to do? And I don't want to kill our topic for next week, because we're going to wrap up this theme next week. Um, but what are we seeing with a lot of them out there? They're trying to build walled gardens. And I think they're using the idea of privacy and security and whatnot as the flag they're waving as they're coming in. But unbeknownst to you, it's to create a walled garden. Um, because we can't share that information unless you have these 5 things within the suite. Then we can make sure. But if you're using another email platform, or another retargeting platform, or something like that. No, we can't share all the information with them that we could if you used our version of it. So I think for them, it's total theater. It is a total marketing pitch with an ulterior motive. Just because, I mean, we've seen this consolidation happening in the space for 10 years now. So I think you're seeing now this move that you got to buy our entire stack. So no, I don't think they care. I think it's all what they need. Uh the third one, I think you were talking about, like, individual, say, marketing technology companies. I think to a degree they they care. Um, but again, I think it is, if they can get a leg up on the competition, I think, as long as it's maybe not an egregious violation of privacy, or not a violation of, say, any kind of letter of any kind of law out there. No, I don't think they care much either. Um, you mentioned like the online businesses. Um, yeah, I think overall businesses do care. Um, about it. Again, depending upon what kind of
Do
service.
they care about it, or do they care about not getting fined?
A little from column A, a little from column B, because
Okay,
it's
fair enough.
honestly, like, I think, like, you just can't say online businesses, because you've got everything from, say, like, the the local farmer. He's got, and when I say local farmer, like, maybe it's he sells some of his products online or whatnot. We have some of those in this area. Um, I mean, I think he cares because he just wants to build up a customer base, doesn't want to ruin his reputation. If you're looking like the larger ones out there, large retailers, yeah, they just don't want to get caught. So I think that there's some nuance to that question. So yeah, there's a level of, we don't want to get caught. But the problem is those companies, some of those companies are way too big and bureaucratic, where it's, it's hard to maybe maintain consumer privacy. But then it also too is, the one
Yeah.
thing is, and we mentioned this last week with Jen, and Jen's going to be coming back and joining us next week as we wrap up this topic. It's what people knowingly opt into. Yeah, if you don't realize at this point, the point of having a loyalty card is that they want to collect and see purchase patterns from you, and see what that data at an aggregate level tells them. Then I don't know what to tell you. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's quite
Yeah.
obvious that's what they're doing. Um, and so just understanding the terms and conditions to what you're opting into. So whether you're using that loyalty card in store, online, combination of both, like, you do give up a level of privacy. And I guess maybe that's why, again, we're talking privacy in a very generic term here. Um, like, again, like, if it's a matter of, yes, collect my browsing data, collect my purchase data, keep that in house so that you can make better recommendations to me, that's fine. My concerns come with, like, when are you sending that data out of the house, and how much of that can be pointed to me directly.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it's such a big conversation, and it's hard to break up. And I hate that I'm so skeptical. I just, I look at businesses with such a negative lens that it's just, I'm skeptical when I see the messaging and that we care about privacy and compliance. And
Mhm.
to me, my mind instantly goes to, no, you don't. You care about revenue, and you care about how this impacts your ability to collect more revenue. I do think there are a handful of companies out there that truly do care, and it's not theater, and they very much are interested in privacy. And the more I've thought about it, and this is something that we've been talking a lot about internally and continue to talk about. In fact, it's in direct alignment with your new position and role at 33 Sticks, is that the companies that really do care about it, I think it's less about taking a stand on privacy or any one issue, but it's it's companies that have prioritized customer experience over revenue. And it's those companies that, again, it's not just privacy, that's just one component, but it's the lens that they use to look at it. And because privacy has such a huge impact on the customer's experience, that they look at it first from a what is important for creating a really great experience for our customers, and let's put in some kind of compliance, some kind of flow to make sure that our customers are having good experiences. I think those companies truly do care about their customers' privacy. And again, it's not that they're, hardcore into privacy. It's just that it's something that very much impacts the experience that they're having with their brand, and so they take that into consideration. Um, and so, from that perspective, I do think there are companies where this is absolutely not theater. It's part of a very deliberate approach to designing good experiences for their customers. For everyone else, for companies that put their need for profits over the need for their customers to have great experiences, I think it's absolutely a combination of theater and um, doing what I need to do to be compliant so that I don't get fined, because
Mhm.
fines is going to take away from my revenue, my
Yeah.
profits.
And what I just thought of too is when it comes to that too, it's when do they start bending the rules? Where, because one of the things we talked about, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, when you look at all of these privacy regulations, they are so massive, so ambiguous at times that there could be multiple interpretations of certain points within these regulations. So if you're putting money over just the general experience or money over experience, including the privacy aspect of it, you're going to bend the rules. And you're going to say, well, this is not, we don't necessarily have to follow it this way because we can shift things here. We can think of it this way or that way. And if it impacts revenue.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I want to be clear here that I haven't in the past had a good way of articulating my thoughts on this subject. And when I've talked about it, I've often been labeled, and I've kind of adopted it now, as being a hippie CEO, as trying to run a nonprofit or just a do-good company. Uh, Listen, I'm as interested as anyone else in generating profits and maximizing revenue. Um, it's not that I'm trying to create something or I'm advocating where that is not important. It is. If you're building a business, if you're running a business, building revenue, maximizing your income is why you're in business. But it comes down to where you put your priorities. And to me, and maybe I'm oversimplifying this, it comes down to a simple conversation. I always ask myself, are we prioritizing our need for revenue over our customers' need for a good experience? Or are we prioritizing our customers' need for a good experience over revenue? The crazy thing is, and it shouldn't be crazy, is that every time you choose the second option, prioritizing experience over revenue, the revenue shows up. And in fact, it often shows up in very maximized amounts. And so, again, we're not talking about not creating revenue and not making money. We're talking about the order in which you prioritize things. And it may seem like a simple word game, but it's not. It fundamentally changes how you view and make business decisions and run a business. And to your point, if I choose to maximize our need for revenue over experience, it makes it really easy to start going down a slippery slope,
Hmm.
because we can start making decisions. And we're talking about privacy here, but it really could be in around anything that impact our ability to maximize revenue but negatively impact the user experience.
Hmm.
And
Well,
it's easy for us to justify that.
how many times have we seen a company over a period of years and decades build up a reputation of having a quality experience, that it's money worth spent, and then they get comfortable because they've built up a loyal customer base, loyal, fan base, whatnot, and so they start to coast and they start to cut corners, thinking, "Hey, the money's always going to be there, or let's eke out just a little bit more." And
Yeah.
I mean, what happens there? They start to hollow out the experience, and then all of a sudden one day it just implodes.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of reasons why that happens, but yeah, complacency, cockiness,
Hmm.
um, maybe we're getting pressure from shareholders, Wall Street. There's lots of reasons why that happens, but it's unfortunate, and as consumers it hurts, especially if we're loyal to that brand. It hurts to feel like I finally found a brand that has prioritized experience over revenue, and you're all in on it, and then something changes and you're like, no, right? Like we've all had that experience.
Yep.
I'm sure with big brands, but even small brands, and maybe even small brands more so, because when you're small, you really have to almost compete on experience, and then you get a little taste of success, and you're like, I for me it's restaurants. You see restaurants, and I've lost track of how many really good ma and pa restaurants have spun up in the area, and it's like they care. They are 100% prioritizing the need for good experience over their need for revenue. The crazy thing is that it works, right? And
Yep.
they get the revenue, they get the success, and like, aha, light bulb. We want more of this. And so, at some point in time, that greed and that need for revenue then usurps and flips and says, okay, we're now going to prioritize our need for revenue over the need for experience. And now our favorite restaurant that was such a great experience and the quality was great and we love going there, it's like, I'm so sad. This is average and boring and sucks now.
Hmm.
And again, I think we can see it across the board, and we're kind of talking in more general terms now, but privacy is a huge component of that. And I think what is it, the Bader Meinhof effect, where you hear something and then you go see it everywhere. i'm
Yep.
guessing i'm guessing that people listening to this podcast are now going to start seeing it pop up when they visit websites or use apps. They're going to start questioning, wait a minute, is this privacy component um, because they're prioritizing their need for revenue and protecting their revenue, or are they prioritizing my experience? And that's really going to go a long way in helping answer that question of, is this theater or is there something meaningful behind it?
Hmm.
I've left you stumped.
Yeah. Like, because I knew this one. If there was any one out of these 4 episodes on this subject that I knew would kind of be a no, they don't care, or like, like a quicker answer to the question, I knew it was going to be this one.
Yeah, and again, I don't think we need to overcomplicate it or stretch it out to be something that it's not. That's kind of what it is, right? And I think we can delve into some other areas, but I want to make sure we don't bite too much into the topic that you have queued up for next week. And hold on. I don't know. It's hard managing the household. I just saw my 6-year-old go sprinting down the street, so who knows where he's running off to. um, but yeah, I mean, that's we don't necessarily need to over talk through it, right?
Mhm. Yeah. So I guess, I mean, we did hit on a couple good topics here, and I like how you folded in the experience piece to it, because you bring up a good point. Is if you care about the experience, you'll take your customers' privacy seriously, and it may not be something the customer recognizes until it's too late. Because I'll leave you with this: like, how many times have we heard of companies in recent years where there's just a massive breach of
Way
whether
too
it's
many
payment
times.
method data,
Yeah.
address data. And when they actually look into it, it was because the software was just slightly out of date. They had, or there was, a major breach, but anybody who knows how to work with that kind of software was like, yeah, of course you don't set it up that way. You're leaving yourself wide open. So the attention to detail wasn't there. So yeah, customers.
Yeah. And you've made me think of something, because we've really been focused on the front end of things, right? We've
Mhm.
been focused on the website and the kind of front office, if you will, of businesses, but there's a whole other back end component to it as well that we haven't even touched on from a security and a compliance standpoint. And that may be a completely different conversation. And to be completely fair to these companies, that from a front end, from a data collection on the website perspective, they may take a very lackluster, or I don't know if that's the right word, but a very kind of lazy approach to privacy. That doesn't mean that on the back end that they're not.
Mhm.
Or it could mean they are. It could be reflective as the company as a whole. I actually have a buddy that works in InfoSec. Um, I wonder if we should draw this out one more week after our conversation with Jen, or maybe it's a different topic. But he would be fascinating to talk to, because we're kind of talking in the digital realm, and his view is digital as a component of his larger view of the world when it comes to uh, data security for companies. He may be someone that would be very interesting for us to chat with.
Yeah. Reach out to them.
Okay.
Let's get them on. Let's talk about this component as well,
Yeah.
because that's the thing is a lot of times with these larger companies, a lot of this information is fragmented, or the operations around this is fragmented. You have someone who manages the back end, someone who manages the front end compliance of it,
Yeah.
and maybe very rarely they talk. They're not in deep communication. So I would
Very
love to have
rarely.
that
Yeah.
conversation.
Cool. I will reach out to him right after this recording
Perfect.
so I don't forget. Yeah, that'll be a good one to chat.
Perfect. Cool. So yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up there then.
All right.
Talk about privacy. We're going to continue this topic next week, kind of focusing more on the front end of things. With I'm going to give a little teaser. I want to talk about like with and we touched on it a bit last week, but I want to dive really deep into it. Is all this focus around cookies, and cookies being the threat to someone's privacy online,
Mm-hmm.
is that all a distraction? So this is something for
Mm,
people to think about until next week's episode. Is that all of a distraction for a bigger potential privacy threat that's out there?
great question.
So and I've talked to Jen offline about it, about that topic. So I'm excited for that.
Cool.
Cool. All right. So quick one today. We'll continue next week, and we'll wrap up at this point and catch everybody later.
Sounds good.
All
See ya.
right. See ya.
Bye.